Good evening and welcome to tonight's show. I'm your host, Tina Dawson, the owner of True Blue Designs, and I thank you so much for tuning in. Please like and share and let everyone know that we are on the air. We are streaming live on our Facebook page and on our YouTube channel at True Blue Designs, right there. I am so thankful that you tuned in. And I just want to say before I get started, thank you to everybody that has called and they have emailed and they have said, Tina, where is the show? It's Wednesday. What are you doing? So I have been on the road for the last couple of months and trying to rest from that. And I just really appreciate everyone, well, those of you who reached out and kind of nudged me to get back to interviewing. This platform is very important to me because it gives ordinary people the opportunity to share who they are, what they do, and give the inside perspective of what they know. Because we all know something. We all in our life journey have been through something, and we can share our nuggets from that journey with people. The other thing I wanted to say was if you or anyone that you know would like to come on the platform to discuss your life journey and to share what you know, please contact us. You can reach out to us on our Facebook page. There's a contact us button for the show, or you can reach out in the comments during the live show on our Facebook page and on our YouTube channel. But we want to hear from you. We want to know what are some of the topics that you want to talk about, some of the people that you would like on the show. So yeah, please comment, share, and let everyone know that we're on the air. Tonight's guest, you all are in for a treat. We got to talking behind off air and almost forgot to go live because the conversation was so good. It really was. You all are really in for a treat. So let me introduce her. Tonight's guest is a licensed therapist and certified health education specialist who operates a private practice here in Atlanta, Georgia. Recently, she published a book entitled Empowering the Broken that discusses her life journey as a domestic violence survivor. She also has a podcast where she examines the impact of self-esteem on relationships and sexual decisions. Again, I encourage everybody to like and share on our Facebook, our YouTube, and share this platform, share this broadcast on your platform, because I'm sure that you, just like me, are connected with someone who needs to hear Dr. Jackson's interview. Please help me give a warm welcome to tonight's guest, Dr. Cherlisa Jackson. Hello.
Well, hello there.
How you doing?
So happy to be here with you. Thank you for having me.
Oh, thank you. Like we were saying, I've been trying to get you on the show, but everything in God is about His timing. So I am so glad that your schedule was free. And I know with you having a private practice, you're very busy. So I am just honored that you said yes and that you had the time to be on the show. We have a lot to cover. A lot to cover.
I'm ready.
I was laughing because I was telling the audience that me and you got to talking behind backstage that off air that I almost forgot to go live. So this is going to be a good conversation.
You just make it so personable. It was just so, I was like, oh, what time is it?
I was like, oh, wait a minute, I got to go live.
I love it.
I always start my show off by allowing the guests to talk, to tell the viewers a little bit about themselves. So I'm going to give you one. Mm-hmm.
Well, you've done such a great job already. And, we are here today, of course, to discuss a lot of different things, one including the book, in which I know that we'll get into that. Tomorrow will be Therapy Thursday. So I know you mentioned the podcast as well, and that's just where you'll be able to see me. And so most of what I'm doing now is just walking in the things that are assigned to me. I'm no longer putting them on a shelf and doing the things that I say that I'm going to, do one day and make it a to-do list. And then by the time it's 2025 or 2030, you still got these things. And so now I'm just trying to unleash different versions of me that have just been kind of sitting and not being explored. And so most of me is this podcast energy of the sexual health education, esteem and relationships is my practice name, SHEER for short. And the podcast talks about that as well. And so we don't really understand the impact of our self-worth and how much it impacts everything we do, to what we eat, to who we date, to going to a medical doctor and seeing about yourself, like anything that you can think of. And so I had to learn that with myself and spending time doing self-care, stopping that back burner behavior and constantly pouring from an empty cup. Like I'm over that. And so now what you see is me trying to give away the things that will leave with me if I don't. So if I don't ever give this to you, then you'll never see it. And so now all of what that is therapy and it's public health. And it's just trying to help people become the best versions of themselves. And I'm trying to become that for me so that I'm not a hypocrite and sharing that with you. So,
Right.
yeah.
Right. And we were talking off air that when you're in your private practice, you can better connect with your patients if there's a difference in textbook knowledge and life knowledge. Right. And so, I think sometimes the best people to sit in front of to get help from are people who can not only sympathize, but sometimes empathize with some of the things that you have been through. Maybe not the same thing, but they can kind of see your point of view. Can we talk a little bit about, I know this spent that way, but can you talk about, and then I'm gonna come back to my original question, but talk a little bit about the importance, or what are some of the things we should look for when we're hiring a therapist or a counselor? What are did you choose the right one that's for us?
Ooh, great question. First of all, I'm glad you asked that, because there are a lot of people who just scroll through and then they pick and they're just like, I'm going to talk to anybody. But it might not have a success rate if that person doesn't understand anything that you're going through. So the modality, the method that they use for your therapeutic interventions is extremely important. So if you're not familiar with family systems or REBT, which is what I use, or CBT or any of the things, that part doesn't matter. It's whether or not they've had the experience in what you're about to tell them. So if they do not specialize in anxiety, they don't have a clue about depression, they focus mostly on kids, and you're interested in something else with like relationships or marriage, or just trying to figure out postpartum, like you're not going to probably have the experience you could have if you pick someone else. Now, we are trained to handle all topics, right? And that's something that we do know how to navigate through, but there's a person who has a specialization all the time, and you want to pick the person who has a specialization. And so not only is it that, but give it a try. It's something where you don't really know. I mean, you can screen through the pictures and the emails and all the websites, and you watch videos, and you still might not like it. And your right is to leave when you don't. And so a lot of people, they stay on the calendar because they're like, I don't want to go back through that process again. But you might be going in circles, or you might hit a wall with one person where you could break through it with someone else. And we can't get so comfortable not only keeping our clients and holding them hostage and saying, well, I've been working with you forever, but I might not be able to get you past where you go. So not only is it about you looking for us, we need to be very mindful of you being a good fit for us too. And if I know that you need different kind of help, I need to be referring. So you need to have a therapist who has not only the experience, and that's not saying that interns can't be great. Someone who's coming in, they need to practice too, but you just need to look at their track record, have an understanding of what they're going to ask you, maybe looking at what they've already done. You'll get a little bit of that information in the intake anyway, but you definitely want to have a good feel. And it's not necessarily about cultural differences and things like that. Some people like someone that looks like them, sounds like them, and other people are like, I don't want that because I feel judged, or I need, something else. And you just got to kind of feel it out for yourself. And based upon what that person can give you is built on the rapport that you also are open with. So if you go in and you're not very honest, you're not going to get the experience that you need. So
that's the truth.
You got to have somebody who's willing to take you through that, and to also know how to, and so that you're not in there spinning your wheels thinking that all therapy is going to be like this, because depending on what they do and what they say is how your experience will be. And so it just kind of varies, but you have a right to pick someone who is going to understand you and want to work with you enough to get you through the things.
Right. Because I think one of the keys in going to a therapist is your level of comfortability of being vulnerable, right? Because the more comfortable you are in being vulnerable, you will open up and you will share. Thus, your the end result could be attained when you're more vulnerable, right? So with me, it's all about who do you feel comfortable with. Even when I pick the chiropractor, you know, if I'm going to lay on the table and I'm going to continuously be tight because I don't like this experience, then I'm not going to get the everything that I'm trying to get out of this experience, right? Because of the environment, right? So you have to be. When my what I've been through is, you know, I feel more comfortable in those environments where, or more open to share in those environments where I do feel more comfortable. So, like you said, you have to interview them. You go with who you feel comfortable, and then you touched on making sure that you go to someone that specializes in what you need instead of, you know, okay, well, are they in my health plan? You know, let me check them off, right? But I'm going to ask you this. In COVID,
Mhm.
COVID came and the MH word really wasn't even talked about. COVID came and now mental health is touching every part of a therapist practice and a counselor's practice. So, how important is the mental health component of, say, a therapist services? How important is that for them to have that now that COVID and all this stuff has happened? That, I mean, you got to, it seems like you got to have that component in almost everything you do.
Absolutely correct. And I'm glad you brought that point up because mental health is not about you're losing it or you're having a panic attack or crazy is the normal word that we use consistently, regularly use. And I'm hearing that people think they need to have a breakdown before they actually seek help. But the thing is, if you've ever gone through anything, there's something that you've had as a blind spot, as a detriment, as something that you can't see because there's bias there. So if you've ever had an experience with any kind of trauma, and that could even be secondary trauma, we keep seeing bodies everywhere. We keep seeing natural causes and desires of like trying to get away from things on our timeline all the time. And we're not necessarily asking for time away. We go right back to work. We go right back to talking like nothing happened. And there's so much stuff to process through. And so the more that we continue to just keep coasting through life and not actually taking the time to pause and be like, am I even in my 38-year-old self right now? Or am I living still as 12? And if I haven't actually gone back and done the work to know that, then you don't know that you're stuck. And so some of the doors that keep closing, you're still in the mind frame of something that can't happen for you anymore, not the capacity that you have. And if you don't take the time to talk to someone and understand where are you, you know, again, it could be a life change. You had a completely different career path that you're taking. Maybe you got out of the linear 401k and you started a business and entrepreneurship. You don't know what to do. Maybe you are a few generations removed from enslavement or someone who was in poverty. You're the first generation student. Like it could be anything. And it does not have to be that you've lost yourself before you go. It's actually kind of preferred that you go before that happens so that you have preventative measures. You have coping skills so that you don't hit rock bottom. And if you go and you think, well, I have to wait until the pieces are falling apart, you're going to do a lot more work than you could just kind of be maintaining. And right now we have a lot of patchwork that we do. And again, going back to secondary trauma, we experience it so much, especially like I'm a therapist, right? We understand that. An EMT, firefighter, police officer, even you speak to people and you hear their stories. You could be living through what they're saying. And if you never take the time, even in your daily experience, to just drop that off and decompress it out or talk with someone who doesn't know you, someone who doesn't have a bias on the information you say, then there's a big part of your life that still has no closure. and there's pieces that you continue to just move forward with and haven't grieved, and there's parts of you that you've lost. And if you've ever entered into a relationship, or you had children, or you did anything where there was a milestone and you had to adjust or pivot, it's absolutely important, because your mental health goes with you in every single thing that you do. So even though you're not checking in on it, it's going to start, your body starts telling on you when you're sick. Your body starts telling on you when something's happening. And the same thing with your mind. Your mind is telling you, we can't continue to work 18-hour days. We have to take time and, go and take a bath or do some sort of self-care activity every day. We are absolutely going to have to work on this with ourselves. And if we continue to ignore that, then you build up a case for a breakdown. So now you're actually setting yourself up for stuff that didn't even need to happen. So mental health every day is absolutely important. Even if it looks like, I'm fine, I'm good. That whole check on your strong friends is the I'm fine, I'm good, because I've been that. I used to suffer in silence and be like, everything's okay, because I was so good at managing it in my career space. But it has nothing to do with your personal life. So me working and acting like everything's all right, it could still be not. Right. And it's okay to not be okay. And we have so much stigma around admitting that we don't have it all together all the time. And if we can't get past that, we think we have to just have this polished version of ourselves all the time. You're not being honest about the things that you go through, because you don't have all the tools to go through everything all the time. You don't have all the armor. You don't have all of the resources at one time at every age that you're in. So mental health is the same with your self-worth. It affects esteem that you have about you and how you see other people, including the relationships you pick, whether that's partners, friends, romance, the jobs you take and stick around with and don't even like, the things that you do every day. It is mental health, everything. So COVID brought it out because people were contained, and then they couldn't do anything to distract themselves, which is what we usually do. We pick the things that numb it, and we don't actually heal it. And so right now, we're in
good. I have to play this back. Numb it, but we don't actually hear it. And then mental health goes with you everywhere.
Every single place.
I gotta go back and read. I'm trying I'm like, she is dropping nuggets. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Good though.
No, it's very true. And that's the thing, that we're afraid of it, whether culturally, gender wise, every single thing and category you can think of, there's something that impacts mental health in some sort of branch over here and over there. And if you aren't taking the time to just check in with you, and you haven't ever tried to, journaling isn't for everybody. I'm not telling you to journal. And I'm not even saying that every single person needs a whole bunch of therapy. Just try to talk to somebody and think about if you're on track with the things that are in alignment with the best possible version of you that you can't see, because you see you all the time. You hear you all the time. You talk to people all the time, and they give you a perspective about what you say. And if you are only able to report who you think you are, then there's a part of you might be missing. And so if you're thinking you're really nice and you're not to a bunch of other people, or you're extremely professional and you're not to other people, like there's some things that you see, and they can only give you feedback about what you report. Therapist is going to walk you through some stuff that maybe you aren't paying attention to. And so it's extremely vital. It's been vital. Like you said, it's a buzzword now, but absolutely have needed mental health way more than we've ever needed it. And I'm glad that at least people are embracing the idea of healing.
Yeah. Some people try to use it and to their advantage.
Right.
But, like you said, I'm glad that we're, especially us as a race, I'm glad that we're embracing it. Back in the day, they would just say, not no knock to anybody named Brenda, but they would say, Brenda's just crazy. And you grow up hearing that from the older people, and then you live a little bit and you realize, no, Brenda, nobody is just anything. There's a story behind the hurt, and that if you don't face the story, you can never get past the hurt. Ooh. So, like you said, you have to talk to someone, and like I said, just be vulnerable. I was going to ask you something, but let's go back to the beginning. So you are not from Atlanta. So talk a little bit about from where you're from, a little bit of how you got to Atlanta, and talk about your educational background just a little bit, because I want to get that on video.
Sure. So can I do a little arrowhead chop for the Chiefs? Kansas City, Missouri, all day, every day. It's been 50 years it took us to get anything Super
I
Bowl
know.
related. So I'm going to just scream it from the
At
rooftop.
least at least you all have one, okay?
It took
We
almost
Falcons.
a century, but but yes, Kansas City, Missouri. I love hometown. There were dreams that I had that were way too big. I recognized that when I was trying to get jobs and it wasn't working. There were degrees that they didn't care about because you get thrown into just, well, depending on where you live, that might not be in excess. You might not have the ability to just go down the street and get a private practice position or just working at a hospital. Like, it doesn't work in a small town. So even though Kansas City's big in theory, compared to other cities that you could get your life started, is very small. And it by itself was a beautiful experience to gain diversity and understanding, but it was missing a big part of me. I know now, having been in Atlanta, and how I got here was kind of a journey to the Blackness and the culture, and trying to understand, like, what's that other half of me? Because I don't have that. I was like 15 people out of 330 in my graduating class. And you don't see your face, then you kind of adopt and assimilate, and you become what you see. And the pressure of being around that all the time, and understanding that the goals that were meant for other individuals were not attainable for me. My name is Cherlisa. People can't pronounce it. I understand it. Dr. Jackson just more because people can't say it. But when they see it on a resume, it's clear to somebody in a way, in a very discriminatory way. And I had that as a roadblock a lot. And I was constantly kind of sideswiped on opportunities. It didn't matter what was on my resume. And so I was like, I need to be somewhere where I can actually like boom and bloom. And I didn't know it would be Atlanta. I just tried it. And it just so happened to change my life, because I've learned so much more about who I could be without all of the redlining and actual spaces of Black affluence. And like, to see a person who's in power, who's Black, was like a mind changing thing for me. And it was blowing me, because I was like, I cannot believe that there is a group of people that I've been told forever, or we see on TV, when you get them together, they can't act right. But here they are, blooming and being amazing in the same spot all the time. And so it got me to be here and to stay here, because it's very different. And that's no knock to hometown. Yeah, everybody that's listening who's from Kansas City, we all understand what I'm saying, because it's very small town thinking. We don't, if you never move within, outside of the radius of where you grew up, then you don't get a chance to explore difference. And it doesn't make you a bad person. It just means the different life that you could live isn't even possible because of what you see, or what you continue to see K through 12 and all the way to your 30. If you don't ever take a leap to just try to do something different, or understand the culture differently, or just people differently, and just travel and know, you're going to have a very limited view. So when I finally got to Atlanta, and I finally started to see what my career could be, and the opportunities that I was given, and the fact that you could start a Black-owned business and actually keep it going with people who would actually funnel in as Black people, and it not shut down, which is very hard to do in a small town. You can get one started, but what's your support going to look like if everybody's spread out? And so when everybody's down the street and they can find me and they see my face and they're like, oh my gosh, we could, it has created a space for me to actually help individuals who wouldn't have the same access and resources. Because you don't see a lot of Black therapists that can actually do anything outside of, a small limitation of things. And that's just the statistics of things. We know that to be true. And so if I give that service to individuals who would easily be able to find that, it's a lot more challenging for me to accept for the individuals who actually need me, and they don't ever see a face like me. So getting down here changed that perspective. And now I get why having this here is extremely valuable. So I'm glad. Still home, right? I'm going home. So I'm never going to not be in Kansas City all day forever. I will not probably ever wear a Falcons jersey, still go to the game though. But it's like, I just know what you expanding your life can look like if you decide to kind of just take a step away from what you've been told is the pattern you should do because your parents did it or your grandparents did it. And it's, again, no knock. It's just Do you want that? And if you've thought about something else, go try it. So that's how I ended up here. And there's some other reasons why I'm here. And I know you'll tell me
Right, right, right,
that.
right. But you're not by yourself though, because the a lot of people have migrated down south. They call Atlanta the new Black Mecca, and a lot of people. It's funny if you go to Walmart and you ask somebody where they're from. 9 times out of 10, they're not a great debate. They're not from here. I came here. I'm a military brat, so I came here. Well, I'm not a brat, but you know what I mean. So I got here when I was in the 3rd grade. I was born in Stockton, California. So see, I'm in there with you. I'm not from here. But they said if I've been here since the 3rd grade, your mama say I'm a peep. So stop telling people that story. Okay. So, but just to prove the point, I wasn't born here either. But there's a lot of people that are coming here because they see the opportunities that are here, which I think is a good thing. Growing up, like you said, you'll be a product of your environment. I really didn't see it. But as things started to grow and more companies started to come here, and then, like you said, more opportunities become open to you. Your mind starts to expand on, what I want out of life may be obtainable, and then you get around the right people. So I'm glad that you migrated, and I know you're not the only chief here. So we were talking about your private practice. Can you talk a little bit about the services that you offer at your practice?
I sure can. So individual therapy is probably the hottest thing. Most people just want to talk to a person one-on-one. Can I do groups? Yes. Have I done workshops? Sure. Is there couples therapy? Yeah. In family therapy, same thing. But individual therapy is like the thing. And most people, what they do is they talk about their relationships. That's actually why when I was like, I'm going to get a practice, I kept seeing a pattern of people wanting to talk about romantic relationships. Every time that I have to do a video, on anything other than relationships, you can tell the interest is a little different than when you start talking about love and like failures of dating and like things where that's just it. So the topics are usually catered towards romantic relationships quite a bit. Even if you're coming for individual therapy, you're trying to figure yourself out in the dating space. You're trying to understand what happened when you broke up. Is there a divorce that's pending or actually happening? I've walked everybody through all of these different things. And so relationships are huge. And not only just the romantic part, but friendships and a relationship with yourself. So mostly people are coming in with that in mind, on top of talking about sexual decisions, trying to navigate through different STDs and STIs and disease prevention, period. And that's a big thing that most people really don't want to talk about, but they know they need to. And there has to be an expert in the field that they do feel comfortable with, which usually doesn't happen in a therapy space. So I just happen to be one of the people who's done disease prevention in the Fulton County space. I used to draw the blood. I used to give the examples, and to actually be able to talk to the individuals if they had a positive or reactive result. I have been that person who has counseled in that space and also seen the numbers and statistics to know people should be talking when they actually have even a negative result, and we don't have that in place. So I do that as well. But anxiety is there. A big part of that is depression too. And people just trying to figure out their career goals, and life is just life in all the time. Individuals want to understand what are some coping skills to create better discipline, and just trying to understand. So individual therapy brings that in all the time, where individuals are trying to understand better versions of themselves. How do I get to the moment where I'm not stuck and I'm trying to get past the wall, and I'm trying to believe in myself, and I'm trying to get over the people who didn't believe in me and all the different things that have hurt me, and I can't make it work, or I have a type, and all the things that we consistently hear every day ourselves tell ourselves. And we think, oh, I don't need therapy, I'm good. But I hear the population of individuals every day who also thought the same. And then there's layers that keep coming off. And so each time someone reveals a new layer, it lets me know a new way to kind of gear the practice and to talk about a new thing. Specializations are going to continue to be romance and sexual decisions and your personal self-esteem and how you feel about you. Yet you might bring in that you need to start your own business. And I have helped several different people start their businesses because the core of that is the belief in you. So if you want to start a business and you just start winging it, and you don't really have the discipline to maintain it, or you compare yourself to others, you aren't going to be in your own lane anyway. So you're going to be doing someone else's lane and trying to mimic it, and it doesn't work. And so people come to see me for that too. And
I
so
never even thought about that until you were therapist. That was interesting. Yeah.
Yes, you will. It's self-efficacy is the term that they give it, and it's the belief, the desire to have a belief. So anything that has like a change agent of you seeing a problem, seeing the severity, seeing the susceptibility, knowing the benefits, knowing the barriers, like all of it comes down to, do you have a belief in yourself to even make a change? Because I might know smoking is bad. I might know I don't need to eat that thing. But if I don't believe that there's going to be any point in fixing it or changing it, or that it will even matter to my life, I'm not going to. So the core of what I usually start people with is their belief in themselves. And what are your deal breakers? What are your triggers? Do you know what those are? Because if I don't know what I don't want, and when what I want shows up, the only thing I'm going to be focusing on is that it's glittery and it's gold. But this is what I prayed for. This is what I want. You're not even looking at the fact that it comes with somebody being inconsiderate, someone not being consistent with you, potentially having infidelity. You're just focused on the fact that this person's like this height, they've got this body, they've got these benefits in life, and it's very surface level. You're not looking at whether or not it triggers you to do other stuff that's unhealthy. Do you have an anxious pattern of attaching to people? Do you avoid certain things, vulnerability, right? Every service wraps around that, just trying to get individuals to know there's a deeper part of you that is pushed based upon what you heal and what you numb. And if you aren't paying any attention to that, and you're ignoring inner child stuff, and you just keep moving on in your day, you're going to keep bleeding on things that haven't really cut you. You're literally going to continue to reinfect yourself with wounds that you could have closed with just a little bit of time and attention, and all of the different things that continue to make your day a lot harder, where you have an attitude, where you're doing stuff that you are good at but not called to do. Like, we do it all the time. And this is what I try to bring out, out of individuals. And the success rate of that is great. I just kind of lead the way that works for me, and what has been helpful. I'm my first client. You're your first, interview. If you don't take your own advice, you ain't really good at what you do. So every intervention that I ever give out is something I've tried on me. So
well, you know what? I was thinking about this because when you said some of the examples of how therapy can help people. I know someone who's a personal trainer, and she had a specific client, and I didn't really understand the connection of the two, but now I do after what you just said, that it's hard for you or for the person to commit to a program of losing weight or choosing a healthier life until you dealt with some undergirding issues. So it was, you got to go to a therapist, because nothing that I'm doing is really working, because there's some things that you really have to take care of. And I thought, I was like, oh, what? And I was like, that's kind of odd. But that was a blessing, because you're stunting your own growth because you haven't really dealt with the things that you need to deal with that's causing you maybe to eat or to do the things that you're doing. I didn't even realize how the two, attach. So, having a therapist in your toolbox, I've learned about this toolbox thing.
Right.
And so having a therapist in your toolbox, and like you said, people think before COVID, people would think therapists, oh, we would shy away from them because I'm not crazy. But it's way past that. And we've learned to really value you and your services and what you all do in this space, because we all needed to talk to somebody to get through those 2 years. So yeah, I didn't even realize that it could help in so many. And then when you talked about businesses, I never even thought about that. They tell you to talk to a business coach, but I never thought about talking to a therapist about me going into business, because there's some things that you touched on that a business coach will not even know to even touch on. So I didn't even think about that. So thank you for sharing that.
Absolutely. Thank you for asking.
You're a mess. So let me ask you this. You opened up your practice, you help business people. What is one thing you learned as an entrepreneur? When you opened up your practice, what is one key thing that you learned about all of it?
You got to take breaks. You have got to take breaks. You're going to want to like go through grind mode, hustle mode, knock it out, spend hours and hours and hours and hours and not actually check in on you. There's been I've had that pace my whole life. I have been in school forever. We know this. And there's constant like energy of moving. And the minute that I took a break, it was actually after this recent doctoral graduation. I was like, I'm taking a break. And I loved it so much that it took so long for me to get back into momentum, because I didn't even realize I've never taken a break. I've never actually just stopped and been like, look at what you've done. This is amazing. Look at what you have accomplished. These are the things. Like I haven't celebrated anything.
Celebrate your wins. Yeah.
Correct. I just kept going. I was like, that's cool, but I got more to do. Right. And in my mind, the picture was incomplete. So it didn't look like I needed to celebrate. I was like, I can't celebrate yet. I'm not done. But you have to. And so the same thing goes when you have entrepreneurship goals. Not only do you have to take a break, but you also don't need to procrastinate. So if you plan to have a business, you can't give it hobby energy. I've mentioned that before. It's very much so like, you know, you can own a business all day, but how are you operating it? Because just having the LLC and just having the name and not actually doing anything as the employer of your stuff, the worker, the actual operator, then you don't have a business. You have a name of a business. And so if you are an entrepreneur and you're saying, I own it, I got it, that is a beautiful step. This is step number one. Great. You just now need to figure out what are the things that you have as your time management to be able to operate this business. Because just getting it started is one thing. And if you put it on the back burner as a thing you'll do on the weekend, or you're not really a good worker of your business, would you hire you? You know, if I am not doing good to be an employee of my own stuff and I wouldn't even hire my habits, then why do I accept that?
That's pretty good.
Like, that wouldn't even hire me if I'm just chilling every day and taking off all the time. Like, you're not nurturing business. It's not going to do anything. So, you know, you've made it when you can actually leave your business on autopilot and you don't have to be present for it to run. That's how you know you have a business, because the owner of McDonald's isn't just deciding, well, you know what, I'm going on vacation, so McDonald's is going to shut down. No, I've created a system so that when I'm away from it, I have individuals who are running it. I have a thing that's going to keep operating. And that's how you know that you can take a break, basically. So until you get to that point, you have to give a lot more than hobby energy and just thinking like, I got this thing I can just post on Facebook. Like, it is great that you got started, but what are you doing for it? So for me, the entrepreneur advice would be really just like making sure that it's a thing that you can do and maintain, because not everybody's supposed to own a business. We keep thinking, oh, it's cool. Let's circulate the dollar. Let's make sure that we can give to ourselves. And that's a beautiful theory. However, not everyone has the ability to maintain a business. Not everybody is supposed to be the manager. Not everybody's supposed to be the supervisor. It just doesn't work like that. You don't have the discipline across the board in a universal way that would allow everybody to be the president. There's so much to carry. There's a big old crown with a lot of duties and a lot of responsibility. And if your own life every single day doesn't even look like you're disciplined, how would you run a business? Because you're not even being very reliable for yourself. I tell me I'm going to go do something, I need to actually honor that promise. If I keep saying I'm going to like not eat this thing or start working out and I can't even get it together on the promises I'm making to me, then the promises that I put money into, you really got a lot on the line at that point. If you already struggle with any of that, it's not to say you can't be an entrepreneur. It means correct that before you decide to put your money in, invest it, and you put all that time into it for it to flop because of knowing that you're not consistent, knowing that you're not reliable, knowing that you really don't even believe it's going to do anything. You cannot start a business that doesn't exist and then jump in another lane and say, it needs to look like this. The reason that you have the vision anyway is because it was given to you to do differently. So
Right.
if you try to go and recreate something, you might as well just partner. If your idea is to just take what they did and just do it a different way, then okay, you might be onto something. But if you don't want to figure out that part of you to know how to maintain it, it's not going to work. And so to start this business, it was really hard. It started in 2016 and it didn't start booming until COVID because there was so much
Wow.
happening and I didn't understand like how to be the operator. I was like, I got a business, it's great. But there were so many things that weren't in alignment. And I couldn't get it together until I was kind of forced in here to figure that out. And then I'm like, oh, I've been doing this wrong. I don't even need a storefront. What I want to do is virtual. That's great. Like there was so much that we build our head to say it
Yeah.
needs to look like this because everybody else is doing this. And you may not need all those things.
Right.
You need, and then talk to maybe a business coach or something, but to know first, have the desire in a way that's going to have you have sleepless nights and you're not going to be thinking about all the different things that you're giving up and how horrible it is. Like it's, you really don't need to start because it's not going to be easy and you don't just get clients like that and money doesn't just, it doesn't
It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work.
Very.
It's a lot of work. And I tell people that, if I think they said if you get past the first 5 years, that you're kind of coasting.
It's good.
But you need to people who have been in the game in a minute, value their services, value their business because they put a lot into it. They make it look easy because you see the front facing part of it, right? You don't see the behind the scenes, and it's a lot of grind, a lot of grind. So, like you say, it's not for the faint at heart. And everybody can't be it. I think you flourish better when you just stay in your own lane, whatever that is. Just stay in your lane, and you will flourish. The other thing I was going to mention too is going back to something that you said. There's freedom when somebody asks you how you're doing, and society has painted this picture that you're supposed to be strong, and the woman, if you are vulnerable and say that you're not okay, then you're weak, and I do different things that's happened in my life. I have learned to not listen to that. And it's that person was sent to ask you that for a reason. I had to learn that. And because that person was sent to ask you that, you need to be honest. And you need to say, you know what, today I'm just missing. I'm not okay. And sometimes it's just you just need somebody to listen.
That's right.
I think that is a skill that more people need to work on, is listening. That is such a powerful skill. And I took a class and when my kids were smaller, and it was a communications class. And they talked about the power of listening, and just taking what I learned from that class and applying it to my children, it just really worked on our relationship. So there's power in freedom and being open enough to say, hey, I'm not doing okay today. I just really am not. And I'm glad that you shared that we need to be open to say that I'm not okay and I may need some help.
That's exactly right. It's interesting the timing of you saying that because tomorrow's Therapy Thursday is about communication and listening. And I was listening to you like, how did you? But we haven't talked about that. So again, it was alignment. But another part of that too that you're mentioning about the importance of actually listening and understanding individuals is that we get into a battle with people who don't automatically agree with us and who just choose not to understand the perspective. I'm not telling you so that you can convince me to believe your side. Right. You ask me how I am. You ask me what I think. You ask me my opinion. So then honor that. And the perspective that exists, it may not be yours. At the same time, you ask me for me. So if you try to shift it and change it because you don't like what I said, then why are you trying to hear me or listen to? You don't have any desire to understand me. And it's nonverbal. Like you mentioned, it's in many different forms. And we all think we're great communicators and listeners, but I challenge us all to think about how we do it when we're angry, because you'll know for sure whether or not you're a good communicator if you're under stress and under fire. And a lot of us are like, no, I'm cool, I'm calm. I just sit there and I'm listening. I'm like, are you reflectively listening? Are you actively listening?
Yeah,
Do you use like verbal? Like there's so
that's
much
true.
more to it.
Mhm.
Even in this job, people are like, I can do your job. I just need to sit there and just listen. And I'm like, actually, it takes a lot to sit for a whole 60 minutes
Yeah.
and do nothing else other than be present. You cannot check your phone. You can't check your emails. You can't drift off because somebody's like, did you hear me? Oh, yeah, like you gotta be in that person's story. You are walking through it every step of the way. And so if you don't even listen to you, that skill is going to be very hard to do, whether you're a therapist, whether you're a person, mom, sister, it doesn't matter. You are going to have a really hard time actually hearing and listening to individuals and conversing with these people because you don't do well with that for yourself. You're not listening to yourself when you're hungry and you're tired and you need a break. So it's going to be really hard for you to say, I'm a great listener, but you don't listen to you. And so I challenge everybody to think about when you keep saying, I'm a great listener, and I tell everybody all my feelings. No, you might overshare. But if you answer all questions of how you're doing with, I'm good, I'm fine, you're not really going through a feelings chart. I'm agitated, I'm frustrated, I'm upset, and I really am not sure of how I feel. Oh, I don't know how I feel. That's okay. And the more that we keep masking that, we really don't have an understanding of what people are listening to. You're getting mad at them because they're hearing what you tell them. And then they can't actually understand what you meant. And I'm not angry.
Say that again. Say that again.
I'm not supposed to predict it. I can only do what you say. And so if you are interested in me knowing a little bit more, you'll have to work on your communication skills so I can listen to you. And if you aren't doing that good enough for yourself, then it's going to be really hard to do that with another person.
You just, hey, we can end the interview right there. That right there, girl. Let me send you my offer. Okay, I got you. We gonna pick that up somewhere else, and you know what I'm talking about. Okay, so before we end this bracket, we've got to talk about this book. We got to talk about your book. Now, I want to tell everybody, please like and share. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, like us on Facebook, and we're going to have a giveaway at the end of the show. So make sure that you comment. Dr. Jackson is going to go through and she's going to pick someone. So we need everybody to comment, whether you comment on Facebook or comment on YouTube. You know, put your your questions in the comments, and we'll give her a couple of minutes at the end so she can answer some of the questions. But we want to talk about this book. Let's talk about the journey to writing, Empowering the Broken.
Oh, such a long journey.
I know. We're not going to give them everything, but we want them to purchase the book.
It is to piggyback off your previous question of Atlanta. There was a person in the picture at the time, and it started in 2010. You know, I was just already considering, like, what am I going to do with myself, my life? And I had just kind of moved into that quarter century crisis moment of, you know, being like 25 and you're like, I'm not married, I don't have kids. And that's the pressure that you have anyway by that age as a woman. So I'm like, I don't know what I'm going to do. And your career starts to kind of like wax and wane. And so, you know, I was thinking about moving, and I just so happened to meet a person in Atlanta. And so there's this thing that happens, it blooms, it guides me to feel like it's going to be very great. And there's so many different things that were going on that I was looking at like, I don't think that's good. And there's so many examples that were given that I listened the first time, and I'm grateful that I did. It's the going back part that stopped me. So when I came back to Kansas City after having moved down to, you know, here to try it out, and I had done like the job searches and the different things and trying to like stay in the place for like a month or two, you know, to just try and get some understanding of the city. And when I finally moved for the, you know, very first time, it wasn't it. So I moved back. I was like, nope, I'm good. I know what that looks like. No thanks. And over time, you know, you try to think differently about someone. You think they've got changed behavior. Like there's all this stuff that takes place, and you try it again. And that's exactly what happened. And then I ended up right back in here in Atlanta, and the second time was way worse. And so it transpired to a level where I started, you know, calling out of work and just being really not in touch with me. I lost a really big part of me, and stuff had been happening years before that, just in like bullying spaces, and you don't really recognize that in a lot of people, that it happens to a lot of people. You get bullied and picked on, and I absolutely have a fairer complexion. I talk a little differently. Like, it's very easy. I'm a huge target. I know that. And I get that that wasn't a problem for me back then until someone pointed that out. So I'm looking at all of my flaws and all of these things, and this person comes in and they like make it seem like it's not a big deal. They love you in this space, even though it's hollow and you don't know it. So then it didn't work out. Can't give all the details, like you said, it's in the book. However, when it didn't work out, it pushed me to not go back home, because I was like, I got these loving people in my family and these individuals who would absolutely embrace me and help me get back. But then that's me admitting defeat of myself. Like, I need to say, how do you make the best out of the decision that you chose to make? If you got all the way down here and you've got all these different things started, then try to see it through. See how you can turn out. What's the best that could happen instead of the worst that can happen? I was like, let me think of the best thing that can happen. And we're looking at the best thing, right? And it was 2010 to 2015. So since 2015, I've decided, I was like, I'm going to start this practice. I'm going to start all these other different businesses. There's going to be some things that I adjust and things that I change. And I wanted to figure out what in the world would create a place for me to feel like I had to stay broken, where someone took me in the essence of whatever was going on and broke it down, accused it of stuff that didn't exist, and then threw it away. Like it wasn't any, and I felt like I deserved whatever, because that's what happens with emotional manipulation. You just take on the identity of what other people tell you, and you people please just to keep it. And you're not really aware that you're losing you and people around you. And I had deleted like Facebook. I was off. So people are like very clear. I was on Facebook in 2003. And then I left in 2014 and didn't come back till 2017. I was off social media. I wasn't doing anything. And I was like, this is the worst experience that could have ever happened, when I already saw some signs. And it's not to blame the victim for things happening. You just wanted better. So out of any relationship that you're in, it can happen to you. It just can. And we keep thinking and we say, oh, well, that would never happen to me. It could. All it takes is you loving somebody. Because love is a blind spot. So anything that you think isn't going to happen to you, you just haven't met the right person to do that yet. And because there is a person for your kryptonite and blind spots, period, for anything. And that's talking all legal things that you'd never think you would do. And yeah, so we just know that I just so happened to align with this person, thought it was going to be what it was. It wasn't. And then it took me years to actually publish it. So I wrote parts of this book in 2016, and I had sent it around to a few different friends. I think I let mom read it, and it just wasn't ready. I thought it was, but I was still talking from a space of anger. And I can't say you shouldn't speak from a place of like helping others until you're healed, but you should be working on the healing and talking from the wisdom if you're going to start giving out some sort of suggestion. Because if you're still in the pit of the stuff that's happening, you're not the testimony yet. So you can't discuss from that space, because you'll be given some ill advice from your perspective that's still blinded. You haven't healed it yet. So what I was talking about, I was like, I really don't have the wisdom in this book yet. And so it wasn't until this year that I was like, okay, let me pick it back up. I met the, person who helped publish it. Her name's Sharon. She's great. And, Impact Your Life, impactyourlife.com. And so Impact Writing Services is the place to go if you're looking for a book. But it's really seeing her. We met at a skating rink at an event for a church, and we were just talking. And then just alignment happened, and she started telling me about what was going on. I was like, I just prayed to ask for, somebody to help me with this book. And it just worked. And so getting from the Atlanta space, somebody's like, would you ever take it back? And I'm like, unfortunately, when you have a breakthrough from something really traumatic, you would like to, in theory, take it back, but all the stuff that has happened to me since then was me pushing myself through it. Right. So had I not had that same fire, you might not see this therapist. You might not see me own a practice. I'd still be in Kansas City. There'd be a limitation. I saw the ceiling there, and I would have just accepted the ceiling, and I would have just been there with that and been like, I got all these dreams, but they can't happen in the city I'm in. Oh, well. And I would have tossed that aside. So the book showed me when I was writing it that there's so much that we went through. And in the moment, you don't really give yourself that kind of credit. You don't really understand that it's for other people. You don't get that. So in the moment, you're thinking it's just for you. And it is. It's part of it. It's therapeutic for me to have released it and to been like, you don't have any more power over me if I can help somebody else to actually survive, because I'm a survivor and there's a lot of people who aren't. And so me being able to get on the other side of it and to share and to say, I hope you don't feel ashamed or you feel like, oh my gosh, how could this happen to me? We all have someone, and it's not just females, it's any gender.
Yeah, any gender. Because this book can help male and female. So any gender. Yeah.
Literally, because it happens to everybody. Right. And if we would release the stigma of what is okay and acceptable to do, even if you think you're play fighting or you just talking and running the Joneses and doing the dozens, like all that kind of stuff really doesn't work the same for everybody, especially people with traumatic history of verbal assault, sexual assault, physical assault, anything that you can think of. It just makes you susceptible, and until you start healing stuff, you won't know how to have a combat for it. So I'm glad that I went through all the shadow work and all the healing work, and it took me a minute. I was abstinent, didn't talk to anybody. I was like, I'm doing this thing. I don't know how I'm gonna get through it, but I'm gonna figure it out, and got an opportunity to really learn me. And I'm happy also because it's going to make me an incredible wife. It's going to make me a great mom, pieces of me that I wouldn't have taken the time to know because I was rushing to be in love and be in these spaces, and I wasn't really ready. I know that now. And there's a lot of different wisdom I can give in this space now that I would not have been isolating it and focusing on stuff that didn't matter. So now I'm able to provide the space that says you're not alone. Somebody's talked to you sideways and you accepted it. And then you kept going back and scooping up the crumbs and being like, it's cool because we had one good day out of 6 bad days. And then you look at the weeks and you're like, okay, out of the month, I had 4 good days with this person. And that's 28 or how many ever, like you have these days that you're checking in and saying, but at least they're still here. At least we're still trying. But your perspective of what you want may not be the reality of what's possible. And the more we keep shaping it to be what we think it needs to be, and we keep accepting this person in and hoping that they'll change and be like, it's all right, I'm gonna go ahead. You're really doing yourself a disservice because you're looking beyond the baseline of what they're showing you. This is the true color space. This is what it is. And if you try to think potential and what you can provide to it, and I'm going to love them into submission, and I'm going to just create a space they'll feel safe. It's only me that they talk to. Like, you got to get past that. Mm-hmm. And in this book is a big reflection of that, where I was in a space of, I'm going to love him into, he's okay. He's so hurt, and you could see it, and I'm going to be the one. And it was game. Right. It was game. And if anything, I absolutely know the game now. So there's anything.
Look, if nothing else, let me ask you this. I was listening to Frank Ski one morning, and he had this part of the show where people could call in and talk about, in lack of better word, how they were played. Right. And he was saying that Atlanta is ranked like in the top 4 of maybe number 1 of the cities where this is happening. Right. And then he was saying that the stories just become crazier and crazier. Right. How easy is it? Is it easier for people to prey on people, male or female, that are in this discovery zone? I don't know if I'm asking it right, because people who their intentions are not good, they look for a certain type of person. Because, if you got it all together, you're going to see that joker from a mile away, right? So what they do is and Frank talked about this a little bit, that they can seek out when you're at a certain juncture in your life, and those are the people who they prey on.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Common understanding of stories that you share. We have to be very careful about oversharing because you give somebody the playbook on how to play you. And a lot of times we don't even think about it. We're like, oh, I just want to tell you about all my trauma and I'm gonna just lay it all out on the line. And I'm like, you should probably start with, if you want to share something bad or negative that happened to you,
Mm-hmm.
start with what you learned from it. Because if I give you the stuff that happened, you'll know I'm susceptible to it possibly happening again. It doesn't mean that it will, but I'm giving you a playbook of what to do. And the same thing when we're trying to date and we're like, buy the flowers, go this way, do this. Like now I'm just setting it up the way you said you wanted it. So when I don't vary from that and I don't deviate, you're going to be mad at me. But you told me this exact step-by-step plan of what to do. So if you are interested in someone giving you the capacity that they can, then just start out with what you know to be true for what you want. And that doesn't mean they have to do it because you ask them. I think that's the other misconception is you get in a committed situation and someone's got to be your genie and do the things that you request all the time. And they still have autonomy. They don't have to do that. They don't even have to be faithful if they don't want to. You would then need to say, well, you might need an open relationship. That doesn't work for me, rather than trying to shape them and mold them into something because you don't like what you're looking at. Accept what you're looking at and understand that they're going to prey on the things that you continue to accept. So if I decide to keep taking you back after you cheat on me 1,000 times, I'm not serious when I put that boundary down.
Right.
I've already shown it to you. And if I keep letting you do all these different things, because you're free to do them, but if I'm not really telling you that doesn't work for me and I'm just going with it because I don't want to lose you, then I'm giving you permission and I'm volunteering the space. And so if I really genuinely have boundaries and I know that they don't work this way because I keep going back or keep allowing you in, then you're going to think the same. And you're going to prey on that. Not only me being inconsistent with what I say, but also bright-eyed, bushy-tailed. You see green all the time and you get this naive wave, then it's going to be very easy for you to fall into that. And so they can tell based upon what you say. No one knows how to play you way more than you know how to play you because of what you give out as what has hurt you. I don't know your story till you say it, unless I was around or saw it in proximity, but I don't know what you do or what you're capable of or what you've actually put in place to kind of put yourself in between shields and barriers. I don't know any of that until you start talking. And the minute that, again, give away the kind of Mary Tyler Moore, throw my hat up in the city kind of, like I might just kind of coast around. But the minute that I also show you that that's the same energy, then yeah, I'm a target. And so you've got to be able to know your limitations, actually accept them. And instead of being like, I'm fine, I'm great. Like, I really don't know how to date out here. I really don't know how to keep myself safe. I don't know the rules. It's 2023. Maybe I haven't dated since 2010. Like, there's some stuff that I don't know people are watching. You wear your money and your clothes, all up your food, your target for people. Like you don't even understand the things that you're doing and the signals that you're giving off that say, come do this kind of treatment to me. Not because you're asking for it, because we don't want to, again, no victim blaming, but it's saying, are you aware of the signals that you give out regardless of what you say? And if it matches what you say, are you aware of what you're saying? And a lot of people aren't.
No. I never thought about it like that. And, of course, on his show, they didn't have a therapist. They couldn't, get to the nugget like that. But I never thought about that. You have to be careful in oversharing, right? And I used to tell my kids all the time, you teach people how to treat you. So if we're oversharing and just laying down the playbook, all they're doing is picking it up and going play by play. I never thought about it like that. You are so right. Oh, wow. That was our opening. That really was. Yeah. A lot of this stuff, all of it starts with us.
That's right.
It really does. And before we end the show, I'm going to end on this.
Sure.
What is two things? What is one key thing that you want people to get from your book? And number two, where can they purchase the book? Where can they purchase it?
Very good. Well, Amazon. It's definitely Amazon. If you're interested in a signed copy, that's on my website, and I definitely will make sure that you get that. However, Amazon's probably, faster for you, if that's fine too. Either way, I'm just grateful for your support. The one thing I do want people to kind of understand is that it is dedicated to the previous version of me, because that's the version of me that went through it. So if I want to dedicate it to me now, I'm giving roses to me now for being able to say it. That's great. However, I do need to credit the person who actually had way more strength than she knew and was able to actually walk away. And the version of me now may not have been able to recognize what to do in a situation like that. I don't know. I would like to think that I would be the exact same way, and being able to like deduce information and put it together and walk away and like never go back. But at the same time, I got to credit her, and I got to actually go back and pick her up and say, you know what, it was okay. You were in a position with resources you didn't have. You really wanted to understand a big part of you. You thought it was within this thing that you found, and it's not. And it's okay to walk away when you're not feeling okay with what's happening to you. If you think that you're about to change someone just because you love them, that's not it. You have got to be able to love yourself enough to know that you deserve someone who's going to want to do it on their own, and you don't have to beg them. You don't have to chase them. You don't have to say anything in regards to please pick me or choose me. It's you either like this cup of tea and you want to get to know this cup of tea, or you like whiskey, and that's okay. If I transform myself into whiskey to get you to like me, then I'm not even being true to me, and you're not even liking me. You're liking a representative of what I want you to select. And so you just got to walk in you and continue to do you. It shows up when you least expect it. And that's the part of me that I had to dedicate and say, you were trying to make it work because you've been taught that your whole life. Make it work. Don't break up. You can't get divorced. It's like, that's the mindset that we don't have. So when you're in the thick of something that you really need to leave, the only thing that kicks in is, no, I could do better. I can do better. And if you're performance based and you're a perfectionist, or you like, that's just going to kick it in overdrive. And so the only thing I needed to be able to say to me was, it's all right if you thought that this was what it was going to be, and you spent a lot of time invested in it right now. But the only thing that you really lose at this point is yourself. You don't lose time. You're not going to lose any energy. You just need to be able to say, I pick me first. And if the me that I have is all I got, and I got to walk away, then that's what it is. And so the previous version of me finally understood, like, this isn't it. And to be able to talk to your previous version of you and ask that person, like, how best can I vindicate you for stuff that you haven't heard an apology for? So if you're not going to get it from them, how can I give it to you? And that's what I talk to me all the time and be like, let me go back and celebrate, the years that you needed in high school where you were not feeling it or feeling yourself. And all the times that you were hearing stuff about you in middle school, and, things that were going on in college, like things that were going on in your relationships, what did you need? What kind of family spaces did you need? Things that you didn't get, you go back and you parent yourself, not because you didn't get great parenting or you get things that you didn't really need or want, but just because you're there for you now. You're with you now. There are no bunk bed coffins. We go by ourselves. So you got to be able to accept in those spaces with you. If you don't like you and you don't love you, then you are literally training the next person to treat you exactly how you do. No matter what you say, you're not even going to know when good shows up because you're not even doing it for you. So out of the book is that really genuinely just be kinder to the previous version of you, and maybe sit down and talk and ask.
Yeah. We skimmed over, we talked a lot about the different topics that are in the book. We wanted to just give you an overview. All that she discussed in this interview is in this book. You can actually purchase the book on Amazon. And also we strode the information for Dr. Jackson at the bottom. If you need to reach out to her, that's her office number. You can reach her on Facebook, IG, and Share LLC is her website. We want to also thank Karen Burke, because she made a comment and we were so into it, I didn't get to it, but she was saying that when we were talking, she said you also have to pay attention to the red flags. And I didn't go there because there's a whole section in this book about the red flags. So, we wanted to have you on the show to, I think this book is going to help a lot of people, male and female. And what we're going to do is after the show, Dr. Jackson is going to check the Facebook stream and the YouTube stream. And I'm praying to God all y'all commented. But she's going to pick a winner, and we're going to send a copy of her book, Empowering the Broken, to you, to the winner. So she will pick it. She will let me know, and we will announce it on our platforms who won, and then we're going to reach out to you and get the information. I'm thankful that I thought that was very unique that at the beginning of the book, you actually had a conversation with your old you, and mainly apologizing and letting her know that it's okay. You when you know better, you do better. And now understanding that your first client in your practice was yourself.
Right.
And your practice is going to really help a lot of people, even more than you can even imagine, because you did the work on you. And I'm just so thankful that you got to a space in your life where you felt comfortable enough to share your old and your new you with the world. And that's what this book does. So I just want to say thank you so much. I will see you in 2 weeks so you can sign my book.
I got you, boo.
And so yeah, I'm gonna keep this near me. And I just want to thank everybody for tuning in.
Thank you.
Everybody, like I said at the beginning of the show, everyone knows someone that can take some nuggets away for Dr. Jackson's interview. So I just want to say thank you. And Karen said it was an awesome conversation. There were definitely some gems spoken. So thank you, Karen, for tuning in to tonight's show. I really appreciate that. Dr. Jackson, you hold on. Everybody, I thank you all so much for tuning in. I know we went a little over, but it was just a great conversation. We will be back bi-weekly, so we will be back in 2 weeks. I've already got the guests lined up, and a topic you don't want to miss either. So, but Dr. Jackson, you hold. But thank you.
Thank you
for saying yes, and I'm just thankful to God that everything aligned that I can get you on the show. Powerful book. I really appreciate you saying yes to writing it, and we'll have you back on the show, maybe just to take a part of the book, especially about those red flags. Maybe we can have another show on just how to spot the red flags. Once you come to the aha moment that they are red flags, that maybe give them some nuggets on some things they can do to maybe turn the curve and start down another road. The only person, I'm gonna end by saying this, the only person that you can work on is yourself. The only person you can change, the only person that you can work on is yourself.
That's right.
And I just pray that this interview showed you through Dr. Jackson that it can be done. It's not too late. Baby steps are better than no steps at all. But you deserve it. You're worth it. You are worth it. Work on you and let everything else fall where it needs to be. So we're going to end this podcast on you being encouraged and you staying positive, because you can do it. If Dr. Jackson can do it and be healed and share it with the world,
right,
you can too. This is Tina Dawson with True Blue Designs presents The Inside Perspective. We will see you in 2 weeks. Good night, everybody.